Now, a lot of people have struggled with getting into the hobby of making tabletop terrain, and I want to show you today just how easy it is, because it is something that anybody can get into and it is not difficult to do. All you got to do is basically start gluing stuff together and you can get yourself some terrain. So I'm going to show you today how easy it is and how inexpensive it is with only $20. I am behind the police officer pretending to talk on my phone. So we're on our way to the Dollar Tree right now, which is a big chain brand dollar stores here in the United States and in Canada. And we're going to do the very best we can to come up with some Dungeons and Dragons and maybe terrain for some other things, all in $20. Now, unfortunately, I forgot my list today, so I'm gonna have to kind of do everything from memory, but I have some things in mind and I've got a couple different projects planned out that I think we might be able to pull off and still keep our $20 budget. So let's see what we can do. A lot of people here probably should have come at a different time. Get on this way. We are blessed with a good God who has given us an entire craft aisle at a dollar store. At a dollar store. Mod Podge is great. Definitely got to get some of this. Tacky glue is essential. We're going to get some of that too. An X-Acto blade will help you out in a lot of sticky situations where you need to just get some clean cuts. Skizzers. Floral Moss for flocking. This stuff. Stay away from this stuff. This is foam used for floral arrangements. This is not good for our purposes. Stay away from it. It is dangerous. For good measure, I'm also going to pick up a painting palette and some brushes. These ones look less sucky, so we'll get some of these. Don't be fooled by the packs that have more in them. Like, those don't look as good. These bristles, I think, will do us some service. Now, you might be thinking we should get some paint while we're here, but we're not going to get paint here because these all cost $1. In the world of crafting, super glue is your best friend. I'm actually going to pick up one of these because it's got the glue saver nozzle on it. And I've been hearing a ton of people saying they've been able to find 2-part epoxy. We're going to get some of this too. This is perfect. This is the first time I've found this. I would recommend avoiding super gel because it doesn't dry quite as fast. Also, we're going to get some of these because these you can throw out shamelessly and not feel bad. Okay, remember how I said that we're not going to buy paint at Dollar Tree? It's because we're actually going to get it at Walmart. This is going to be one of your favorite sections because you can get multiple colors for $1. And for our purposes of crafting D&D terrain and Warhammer terrain and stuff like that, I avoid the glossy stuff. We want the regular stuff up here. Also, glossy, twice the price. Not okay. We want this stuff. Alright, these are the colors I'm getting. We're going to keep it very basic, very neutral. We're also going to splurge and get one of these antique gold. Wait. Just kidding. We're going to get one of these. Antique copper. Always a good idea to check the clearance section. What is this? One pot tinted. Look at that. It's not too bad. Could probably work with that. Oh, right. Okay, how do I get those? Here we go. So they didn't have everything that I wanted at the first Dollar Tree, so we are at another Dollar Tree to see if they have everything else that we want to use for our $20 project. Oh, cards. Let's see. This is cards. Yes. I'm already seeing a lot more stuff at this location that we were missing from the first one, so that's a good sign. Anyway, get one of these. Okay, one of the biggest staples you're going to have in tabletop crafting is foam. The easiest, cheapest foam to get is this stuff right here. This is called Ready Board or foam core, and that is because it's a sheet of foam sandwiched together between 2 sheets of paper, which we will peel off later, and that's relatively easy. We're going to get 2 sheets of this for today's project, but it's always nice to have some of this on hand. Now, initially I was going to make this more of a tutorial video, but instead of giving you the play-by-play, I'm not going to do that this time because this is a really simple build and it's really kind of self-explanatory. You see I'm cutting smaller pieces to make them more manageable, and I'm going to prep them. I'm going to peel the paper off of them, and yada yada yada. So instead of doing that, I want to encourage you that if you've never actually bothered trying to craft anything, I have seen people become very proud of some kind of lame projects, and that, I think, in a way is kind of the goal, because even the people who have done what others might think are lame projects, they have actually done it. It reminds me of the story in the Bible where Peter walks on the water and then falls in when he loses faith, but it's kind of like I'd rather be a wet water walker than a dry boat talker. You know, he didn't really do it well, but he did it. He tried. And I think when it comes to crafting, that's what we need to try and do. A lot of people are intimidated, I think, by this, or they doubt themselves a lot. And it's one of those, you're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So just get some stuff and give it a shot. Now, it took me longer to acquire all of the pieces to this than it did to actually make the thing. This is a super easy project. You're just cutting out foam, you're making shapes, and you're gluing them together. You're adding a little bit of paint, and wham bam, you're all set. Now, it should be noted that this aluminum foil I have here is actually a Dollar General aluminum foil, and I actually found it on the side of the road as I was pulling out of the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to use it, and I'm considering that a freebie because just about everybody's got aluminum foil at home. In any case, like I said, a lot of this stuff is kind of self-explanatory. I don't want to get into the boring nitty-gritty details with every single video. I feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse, but if something isn't clear, just let me know and I'll talk to you about it in the comments. And maybe I'll do a series about terrain basics and just technique and things like that. If that's something that would interest you, let me know. And projects like this, these are really nice because they're really super basic and they're really super easy. I think what people get caught up in is they don't want to do something because it's not going to be ideal or perfect, but then they end up not having anything to play with or to use at their table, and then what? Now, the one pro tip here I will offer is that I got this mermaid at the Dollar Tree for $1, and I'm going to prime it, and this is actually going to be the focal point of our fountain. It's going to be a bronze statue, so I'm going to do the Black Magic Mod Podge acrylic paint mixture, which if you don't know about that, you know now. I'm just going to use that to prime everything, and then I'm going to use that copper paint that I got at Walmart to make it look real pretty like. And let me tell you, soiling this basically complete toy with black paint was actually very, very satisfying. I will say that. You should try it. And once it was all dry, going over it like this felt great to do. It looked like going from black to this glistening bronze color was really satisfying for some reason. Now, as an old statue, I wanted to make it have a little bit of the aged look and the patina. So I actually had to mix up a couple colors here, and now if you'll notice, this is not the paintbrush that we got at the Dollar Tree. Now, don't ask me why, I forgot to actually purchase the brushes, but for the sake of this build, because I said I would do it for under $20, I am only using 2 paintbrushes. And that is a makeup brush, which you can also get at Dollar Tree, and this paintbrush you see in the footage here. Now the paint, I had to borrow some blue paint that I did not buy, but otherwise I mixed the colors with the ones that I bought at Walmart. So there's that. So I cheated a little bit, but not really, come on. throw me a bone. Now I'm going to water it down heavily, and I'm going to splatter it on, and it's going to fall into the nooks and crannies. And now we're going to do our dry brushing, which of course is getting a little bit on this makeup brush, like I said before, and we're just going to brush on the high points, and it's just going to highlight over where the patina paint went into the nooks and crannies, and that way this is still going to look glistening and bronzy while still maintaining the patinaed low points, if that makes sense. Now, this moss we can use for any sort of, you can use this for basing, you can use these for trees and stuff like that. I'm just going to chop it up, make it real fine, grind it up. I'm actually going to use this as moss on the fountain. Now, one thing that I've noticed after having done this a little while, and I'm no veteran by any stretch, but I've noticed that the desire for perfectionism is strong, and you need to avoid that when at all possible, because you can nitpick anything forever until the end of time, and you know, I've found that it's helpful just to give yourself a time frame. So if you decide to do a project like this, give yourself a time frame. Say, I'm only going to spend 10 hours on this, or I'm only going to spend $20 on this project. Give yourself some sort of limit if you think that you are the kind of person who is going to give yourself a lot of trouble, if that makes sense. You know, because even this, like, I'm making a very simple fountain, and I found myself, I had to redo this bottom part, and it was sort of like, why? Like, why bother? You know, like, it was almost unrecognizable from the first one that I did. And when I poured this resin, I actually muddied it up too much, and I stir it up and I gloop it in, and it came out looking very yucky. What you're watching here is actually the second application. The first one came out very, very brown, and even this came out way too green. I wanted it just to be like a tepid water, and it looks now more like an acid vat. And I had to go out and buy more epoxy resin because I screwed up the first time, and it was like a whole thing. And I felt really annoyed at myself because I was like, I should have just left it. Like, for a piece that is just for illustrative purposes, I shouldn't have invested the time. And if you're making stuff for your table, especially if you're a dungeon master and you're trying to get stuff out for your game, it's important that you just be happy with what you make and the time allotment that you've given yourself. Perfectionism is fine in some cases, but if you're not careful, it will destroy you as a creative. Especially if you're starting off, you will discourage yourself into doing nothing. Okay, so as far as the project goes, including all the things that I used, because I bought some things that I didn't use, we came in at about $19.50 plus tax. So that puts us just a little over $20, but you know, if you live in a state where you don't have sales tax, there you go. Now, I hope you all feel encouraged to go out and actually start building something and getting off the sidelines and making something with your own hands. And I think some of you will realize just how therapeutic and how fun it can be to make your own terrain and assets, and your players will be able to visualize things in your games better because you have taken the time, and I think it'll go a long way with your campaign. Now, I really want to encourage you guys to no, I hate asking people to subscribe. You know that? Like, now it's that time of the video where I ask you to subscribe because the YouTube algorithm is a tyrant. And if I don't get the people liking or sharing the video or subscribing to the buttons or notifying themselves because they've hit the bell thing, you know, it's hard to get the word out. And I want to help people. I want to bless people. I want people to be reached, to start new things and to actually get into this hobby. So if you would be so kind, send this to somebody you think has a knack for this sort of thing and tell them that you believe in them. And I think that this could go a long way, and I think a little bit of encouragement could be just the thing to take the step into tabletop crafting. If you want to see my other stuff, check out my last video over here. YouTube thinks you'll like that other one over there, and I will catch you next time.